We are thrilled to have with us here at the Leon Loft, Indigo De Souza. Welcome, welcome all. Good to have you here. All right. And what would we like to start with? What song do you want to start with?
We're going to start with Sun is Bad, which is from my first album, I Love My Mom.
Honey, I miss you, but I don't need to see you. I'm jealous of those other girls, but I don't need to keep you. I'm full. I'm full. And I cannot take no more. I'm full, and I mean it. The sun just don't rise up for me this time. The sun just don't rise up for us tonight. Honey, I love you, but I don't need to have you. There's nothing like crawling through the dark room in the rear view. The sun just don't rise up for me this time. The sun just don't rise up for us tonight. And I'm sorry, I got angry when you got sad. I'm sorry, I cannot take it back. I'm sorry, I got angry when you got sad. I'm sorry. The sun just don't rise up for me this time. The sun just don't rise up for us tonight.
We are live at the Leon Loft with Indigo De Souza on Ann Arbor's 107.1. You know what? Right up front, so that everybody listening on the radio knows, please introduce the bandmates you've brought with you.
Yeah, we brought our dog Winston. He's a very
I was
special.
actually talking about the ones playing with you
Oh,
on stage.
I thought you
We'll
meant-
get to Winston in
Oh,
a
I
second.
thought you were
though.
being clever about the dog. Yeah. It's Zach Carden on the bass. Avery Sullivan on drums. And Dexter Webb on guitar.
Welcome all. And Winston is the dog that you will meet if you are here in the front.
Yeah, Winston's probably the most important.
Winston is learning everything Winston can about photography from Misty Lynn. That's great. I'm actually glad you started with something from the first album. I did want to ask you a couple of things as we get started. You know, something I admire about both of these records is that you can listen to it, and as you do, you are going to come away knowing you a lot better, which is not necessarily something that every songwriter does. Like, you don't always get to know that. And I thought it's probably very important for you to make sure that people come away knowing you better. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Well, I guess I've just always wanted to be completely honest in my songwriting, or I don't even think about songwriting. It just happens. And I just write from a place of reality, like just saying how I'm feeling. I've never really been able to write in another way, like about stories or other people's stories or made up things. Yeah, so it just feels kind of like a default thing. Like, because I'm going to die someday, I just try to be as real as I can with the world.
Yeah.
While I can.
That's
Yeah.
really important. And it is a different type of writing. Like writers who sit down and say, you know, I'm really just thinking about what kind of person to create within this song that isn't going to be me. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't even bother with that. Like, you start with the emotion and then find words to fit that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think I just kind of, when I'm in a heightened state of emotion, whether it's good or bad, that's normally where songs come from, which I think is probably a pretty normal thing. But yeah, it just is almost like a possession. Like, it doesn't really have a structure, it just happens.
Yeah. Without telling me, you don't need to tell me. It's none of my business. However, when you're writing that way and you're doing that kind of writing, are there things that, even though you're trying to be as honest as possible, that you shield, that because you do know that in the end of the day, you're going to either record it or you're going to come out on a stage like this and you're going to play it. Things that you really do want to keep private, personal, or that it's just areas of your life that you haven't gotten to yet in terms of songwriting.
Well, I do have a choice if I want to record it or play it for people, but I actually just have never cared about keeping things private, unless it's about someone else, and it's not my thing to talk about. If it's about me, I've never felt like I'm a private person, because I just am a person, and yeah, like I said, I'm just, at the end of this, I'm just gonna die. So it doesn't really matter what people know about me. I'm not special. I'm just like a very small speck. So yeah, it's never been an issue for me. But people ask me that often, so I sometimes wonder if it should be an issue, if I should be thinking about that a little more. But yeah, it feels very natural.
Well, and then we get back to that honesty piece. I would think that is also what connects you to people who are listening. So I would think maybe after shows, like, people come up to you and they say, wow, you captured my very experience. Wow, we had the exact same experience, right? Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happens a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen unless you're being honest.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's what's special about it, or about what I do. That's what keeps me doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it means a lot to me when I can relate to someone else's art. That actually is like one of the only things that really keeps me driven in this world. So yeah, it feels important to do that for other people.
Yeah. What do you want to do next?
Darker Than Death, which is from my second album, Any Shape You Take.
Did you feel it too? When we both went blind, you wouldn't even look me in. Oh, darling, you wouldn't look me in the eye. Was it something I said? Was it something I said? Was it something I said? Was it something that I said?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So up until last year's album, Any Shape You Take, you were in that self-produced world. And on the last album, you worked with a guy who I think we have spoken with him or spoken about him in the last 3 sessions we've done here, Brad Cook, another producer in North Carolina. You worked with him, co-produced with him. And he's worked with a lot of people. And apparently everybody who comes to Leon Loft, he works with them. But having been in that world of, self-produced, was it helpful to have another set of ears in the room, just another person in the process?
Yeah, it was just really like a learning process. I guess before I worked with Brad, I actually didn't understand what a producer did. Yeah, because music is such an abstract thing to me. I was like, how can someone come in and make it structured? And yeah, in a lot of ways it was really helpful, and then in a lot of ways it also wasn't. And I learned a lot from the duality. And yeah, Brad was awesome, and he was definitely a cheerleader for me, and kept me going, kept me excited about the process. It was nice to have someone there, especially for the first time that I made an album in a larger scale with many more resources and sounds that I could make, because it was kind of an overwhelming process, but it was really fun. Yeah.
Well, so I was also thinking, you came into this knowing what the shape and sound of your songs should be better than you would have in 2016 or 2017 or 2018. You came into this knowing what you do, in other words, and you had to communicate that to somebody else and say, I need to make sure that this is still going to be who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it always is pretty easy going into the recording process, because I either demo out my songs and kind of flesh them out really well so that all of the parts are there, or the whole idea is kind of there to reference, and then also I just play the songs with my band and then bring them into the studio with an idea of what all the parts are in that way too. So there's always a lot to go off of, and it feels easy to communicate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did a lot of it change?
How do you mean?
Well, I'm just saying things that you went in with one idea, and then it came out sounding totally different and much to your liking. Right,
yeah.
This is a great idea. We should probably pursue this.
I mean, in some way it changed, but also mostly not at all. It mostly is what I wanted it to be, just in a heightened kind of very produced, very clear way, which I couldn't have done on my own. Yeah.
When working on your own, when being self-produced, there's that area of total freedom. It's a great place to be. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
But having somebody else in the process kind of helps to also know when you're done, when a song is done, or an album's done, like somebody else to say, I think this is it. Like, you've done it and we should move on. Was that ever a problem for you when you were self-producing? Just like, I can do that better.
Not really.
Okay.
No, I have like a pretty high standard, but yeah, I feel like I don't normally move on from a part unless I feel like it's right. Yeah, I don't know. I've always really known like what I want stuff to sound like. So that part has never really felt like a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds great. You want to do another one of the new songs?
Yeah. What is? Oh yeah, we're gonna play "Hold You" now.
You are a good thing. I've noticed, and I want a good thing with you. You are the best thing, and I've got it. I've got you, and I would do anything for you. And I will hold you, 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 I will hold you. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. You are a good thing. I've noticed, I've seen it, and I want the best things for you. I am a good thing, and I promise you got me, and I would go anywhere with you. And I will hold you, I will hold you, I will hold you, I will hold you,
Fantastic. We're here at the Leon Loft, and we're going to continue on here at the Leon Loft with Indigo De Souza. We are going back to the radio station now. The latest album, which is available everywhere to stream and buy, it is called Any Shape You Take. As I said, there was a show tomorrow that has been rescheduled for September. However, I am told that Indigo is going to be in Southeast Michigan here for several days. I would keep watching her social media to see perhaps where you might see her in the next number of hours. That's why they call it a secret show. All right, we're going to go back to more music now on Ann Arbor's 107.1. Until that light goes off, I really shouldn't say anything. But I'm going to, otherwise we're going to sit here all afternoon. Are we off? Are we still on? Are we still on? We really shouldn't be. There we go. All right, thank you. Wonder how much of that got on the Ann Arbor airwaves. That's awesome. And Winston continues to sleep, which is just, that's so fantastic. Is this where Winston usually camps out during the show?
Well, actually, he normally isn't out during the show, but when we're practicing, he does that. So, yeah, this is normal for him. I thought he'd be more interested in all the people, but he's done.
He's
a
a
tour
boring
dog.
group to the canine crowd. I just wanted to let y'all know. All right. So I realized when I was getting ready to do this interview that I have been doing this show for so long that I'm really now into a second generation of Asheville artists, which, as I said in the opening, it was really important for me in that first mid-'90s stretch there because it was such an active community. Still is, but it's a different place now. It's less affordable, a lot less affordable than it used to be back then. Tell me about your Asheville, your creative community.
My Asheville is pretty great. I live a little bit outside of Asheville, which is pretty common for people who have been there for a long time and have been around when prices have gone up. But yeah, a lot of the people I know are makers of things. Like potters and gardeners, and just, people who like to make art with their hands or making sounds. I just have a lot of creative friends and a lot of supportive friends and people who love to dance and be joyful. That's kind of just the kind of community that I've cultivated in my life. And we like to spend a lot of time in nature too. The forests in Asheville are really important to me.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, that's always been the case. Like, there are all kinds of other artistic pursuits going on there, plus the natural art to draw inspiration from. Like, I think that's why it's always been kind of a hub. It's just it's a gorgeous place to be. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of artisans from totally different disciplines that you can draw on for what you're doing. And they are probably drawing on you from what you're doing, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let me ask that, because do you have discussions about what you do artistically with other artists who do not really know about music, but they know about art?
I guess not a lot, but sometimes. Yeah, like I remember recently I was having a conversation with my friend Alex about sculpture, and we were talking about sculpture and song and what is similar and different about those processes. But yeah, not a lot. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's less conversation about art and just more making it and like hanging out together and just like, the energetic feeling of art. Mm-hmm.
That is art. There it is.
Yeah.
Like that energy, like if you can draw on that energy, that's it. You've accomplished it.
Totally.
Which brings up another thing about the fact that you're now more than ever, you're not there. Like you are away from this creative hub and your home. And since, as you've told us, you really are drawing on inspiration from within anyway, I guess it doesn't really matter where you are. I was wondering if being out on the road was actually not great for writing, and it was better to get home and process it through the home experience.
Yeah, no, being out on the road constantly is horrible for writing. Yeah, because when I'm on the road and I'm not with my community or friends or family or place, I lose touch of myself and who I am and the things that make me light up or give me energy or just remind me to love myself. Like those things that make me feel centered are lost when I'm on the road for a really long time. Yeah, so I actually barely write songs at all right now.
Yeah.
But like during the pandemic when I was home constantly, I wrote a lot of songs. But I never really get freaked out about, like I'm never worried that I'm not gonna write songs again, because I know that I will. I've been writing songs since I was like 7. But it is freaky. Yeah, it's hard to know how to balance. I'm still trying to figure out how to find some kind of inspiration within this, which is what I thought I wanted to do when I grew up.
Right.
You know, and here I
Now
am
you're
doing
here.
it, but I also have lost touch with my art because of the job, which I think is a very common thing. But I think that what people normally do is they just don't tour as much as we do. We're just in this stage right now where we're touring a lot because we need to build something so that we can not tour as much later on. But right now we have to put in the work. So yeah, after this touring cycle, things will be a little chiller and I'll hopefully be able to spend more time at home.
Do you look back on the stuff that you did when you were 7? Not literally like, oh, that's a great song, I need to record this now with my band, but just look to it for inspiration if you keep notes or you have early recordings of yourself doing that stuff.
I do. I have some tape recordings from when I was 9. I had like a little 4-track tape recorder that my mom got me. And some of them are covers, like there's an Elvis song on there and then a Bob Dylan song. But a lot of them are just my own songs. There's one song I wrote about global warming and about, I think I just thought that global warming meant that in like 10 years, everyone would just be on fire and be like dying and having to say goodbye to everyone that they love. And that's what that whole song is about. And that's really interesting to hear because, I mean, it kind of shows me how messed up my brain has always been. But yeah, I those are funny to look back on. Yeah. I have like all my old songs that I wrote when I was younger on my old computer.
When you say funny, do you mean funny embarrassing or just funny?
No, not embarrassing.
Good.
It's just like sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah.
What would you like to do next?
Okay. Oh, what are we going to do now? Which is from I Love My Mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do, baby? So you sleeping outside with a red nose? Saw you sleeping in bed with your day clothes on. What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do, sweetheart? You still haven't cleaned the kitchen, and we're we're still on hold with the nurses. When are we gonna wake up in some cubicle cell with our shirts tucked? I'll be the one. I'll be the one to deliver the news. I know you're worn and exhausted. This is lost on you. I'm holding my knife in your hands, and there's nothing like trying. I'm so loud in the mornings, and I'm never cooking up what you're craving. I'm never cooking up what you're craving. Oh, my darling, just this once, won't you? Hold me close and tell me I'm all that you need. I'm never cooking up what you're craving. I'm never cooking up what you're craving. What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do, sweetheart? You still haven't cleaned the kitchen, and we're still on hold with the nurses. When are we gonna wake up in some cubicle cell with our shirts tucked? I'll be the one. I'll be the one to deliver the news.
All right. So now I want to turn a corner and quickly ask you about Icky Brickets. I want to do that because this is, it's called a side project, but
Yeah.
what I thought was really interesting was that if somebody heard that, they would be very surprised to hear this. And if somebody hears this, they would be very surprised to hear that. So
Totally.
it's a very different, it's a different type of song. It's a different way of singing.
Yeah.
That you do for that. And for those who haven't heard it, I strongly recommend. And you'll note, like, it's, I heard like Corinne Bailey Rae and Esperanza Spalding, like this kind of cool, hard to define neo soul sound to the whole outfit and your way of singing. Interesting. How did that come about?
Yeah, that project was with my friend Ethan Bechtold, who used to be in this band. Everyone in this band is new from the original. And yeah, he's actually the only person I've ever found comfort in collaborating with. Like, I'm not a very great collaborator. Like, I like to write singing parts for people's songs, but I can't always just make a song from the ground up with someone. It doesn't come very easily, but me and Ethan just have a kind of magical thing. But we've been separated for like the past little bit, and we've just been doing different things and haven't been working on Icky Icky Brickets at all. But I think that we will again someday, or I hope so at least. Yeah, but Ethan is just like a jazz soul genius. Yeah, he just plays like every instrument, and every instrument on Icky Brickets was him playing, and then just me singing. Yeah.
And so you were after. I mean, that's what he does. Like he is a producer in that realm. So you were targeting that. Like it was going to sound like that from the start. You knew that was really what you were going for.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we met and became friends, and then I went over to his house, and we were just playing music together, and he was playing piano, and I was singing, and we just started organically writing a song. And he plays jazz and stuff, but had never really written songs in that way until we fused. And then it just really was like this magic thing where we realized we had a style that came from the two of us being together. It wasn't like his style only or my style only. And it was something that I actually didn't even really know I had in me until we were together. And it just, happened.
Different type of song. If you know it's going into that arrangement, that project, like, are you more likely to create a different kind of song?
For that project? Oh, well, we only create those songs together.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why I haven't created any more in a little while, but yeah.
Well, it's fun. It's a fun project. Great. We have time for one more. What do you want to do? Totally open to you.
Okay, we're going to do Sick in the Head, which is also from I Love My Mom.
Okay.
When we were walking out to that vacant house, I kept my blood in my gut, I kept my tongue in my mouth. Oh, we're going 'cause we're not quite dead. But darling, you're sick in the head. And there was no one home in that plastic box, in that widow's womb, with the childproof locks. Oh, it's not ours to see. Since then our bodies have warped and bent, and now we are gray. I go back to that house sometimes to say what I need to say. Our bodies have warped and bent, and now we are blue. I go back to that house sometimes, hoping I'll run into you. When we were calling out to that man of men, I said we need you now, like we did back then. Oh, we're going 'cause we're too damn old, and nothing's making sense anymore. And now that house is gone, there's a golden lawn, and there's a silver spoon someone's been choking on. Oh, it's not ours to say. But darling, it's dark in these days. Since then our bodies have warped and bent, and now we are gray. I go back to that house sometimes to say what I need to say. Our bodies have warped and bent,
Okay, many thanks. Indigo De Souza.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.